Shout out to Brian Tyler. Yeah, Brian Tyler Cohen. Oh, Brian Tyler Cohen. Shout out to him.
It is my honor to be joined by the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. Mr. President, thanks so much for joining me.
It is wonderful to be here, Brian. Thank you for having me.
So as you know better than anybody, the discourse has devolved into a level of cruelty that we haven't seen before. What was disqualifying just a few years ago now not only feels fine, acceptable, but actually rewarded. You have administration officials saying that the victims of ISIS aggression are domestic terrorists. You have J.D. Vance coming out and saying that it's okay. You don't have to apologize for being white. Just days ago, Donald Trump put a picture of your face on an ape's body. And so again, this is kind of, we've seen the de-evolution of the discourse. How do we come back from the place that we have fallen into?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to recognize that the majority of the American people find this behavior deeply troubling. It is true that it gets attention. It's true that it's a distraction. But, as I'm traveling around the country, as you're traveling around the country, you meet people. They still believe in decency, courtesy, kindness, and there's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television, and what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost. But the reason I
on both sides
point out that I don't think the majority of the American people approve of this is because ultimately the answer is going to come from the American people. And we just saw this in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. It is important for us to recognize the unprecedented nature of what ICE was doing in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the way that federal agents, ICE agents, were being deployed without any clear guidelines, training, pulling people off, out of their homes, using 5-year-olds to try to
bait their parents.
Yeah. All the stuff that.
All right, come on now. That is wild to say that they're using 5-year-olds to bait their parents. I mean, no, they're trying to give they were trying to give the 5-year-old to the mom, and the mom didn't want to take the 5-year-old because she was scared that ICE was going to take her away. Now, if the mom wants to sit there and say that, oh, they were using my child to bait me out, I mean, look, that's a lie, because that's not what the ICE officers were there to do. They were trying to give back the child, and the child had to go to Child Protective Services because the mother didn't want to come out. And if that's their way of running cover for the mom for not taking her child, then that's pathetic. But all right.
Tear gassing crowds simply who were standing there, not breaking any laws. So the rogue behavior of agents of the federal government is deeply concerning and dangerous. But we should take a moment to appreciate the extraordinary outpouring of organizing, community building, decency, neighbors buying groceries for folks, accompanying children to school, teachers who were standing up for their kids, not just randomly, but in a systematic, organized way. Citizens saying, this is not the America we believe in, and we're going to fight back, and we're going to push back with the truth, and with cameras, and with peaceful protests, and shining a light on
peaceful protests. Like, look, bro, if they was peacefully protesting with their signs and they was just standing behind, a line and not actually trying to obstruct police officers, Yeah, that's peaceful protest. When they're literally trying to get in the way of ICE officers, they're trying to follow them around, obstruct them, honk the horn, letting people know that they're in the area. Yeah, that's going over from peaceful protester to obstructionist. So no, I'm sorry. We definitely just can't agree on all of them being peaceful protesters. A lot of these guys are taking it into their hands to go up there and try to obstruct ICE operations. And that's wrong. That's one of the reasons why Renee Good and Alex Preddy are no longer here, because they thought it was a smart idea to get involved or to obstruct ICE operation or to stop Custom Border Patrol from arresting a lady. And instead of going to help the lady on the ground, he got right in that guy's face and put hands on him. I'm not saying he went on there and punched him. I'm saying he literally went on there and tried to stop him, push him away from engaging that lady, which you can't do.
The sort of behavior that,
much as if you want to do it, you can't do.
In the past, we've seen in authoritarian countries and we've seen in dictatorships, but we have not seen in America. And that kind of heroic, sustained behavior in sub-zero weather by ordinary people is what should give us hope. And it should remind us that at the end of the day, the way we get a democracy that's working, the way we get policies that actually are helping working families, get ahead, the way that we restore norms, rule of law, decency, it's going to be because we citizens are activated and paying attention and saying enough and saying, we have a different idea of what the American family should look like and community should look like. And that is what
I don't know about that. I don't know, man. According to the Dems, every family should have a trans daughter or son in there somewhere. So I don't know if we still have the same views on family, my friend. I mean, shoot. Like, you guys are upset when we say that a marriage is supposed to be between a man and a woman, and y'all get upset over that. I mean, bro, y'all get upset when you say we can't trans kids, and like it's kind of a weird thing to try to force that on families, but I guess we don't have family values when it comes to that. And then when he called these guys, when he said that, protesting against ICE is heroic. I'm sorry, but what's so heroic about protesting against immigration laws when the fact that these immigration laws weren't followed is the reason why ICE got to do what it's doing now? I mean, I don't really see what's so heroic about that. If you wanted to be heroic, you should have drove your ass all the way down there to the border and told Biden to actually put some protection on there, or you guys were going to go down there and do it yourself. That's heroic.
I'm seeing across the board. So, I was on a panel a while back, and I said, a lot of the values that we say we subscribe to, during easy times, during peaceful times, it's easy to say we believe in those things.
Right, when they're not challenged.
When they're not challenged. It's easy to believe in free speech when it doesn't seem like the government's trying to crack down on free speech. It's easy to say that we believe in the golden rule when we aren't at risk of being arrested when we exercise the golden rule.
Yeah.
Right now we're being tested. And the good news is what we saw in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and what we're seeing in places across the country, including here in Los Angeles, has been the American people saying, no, you know what, at least a good number of the American people saying we're going to live up to those values that we say we believe in. And as long as we have folks doing that, I
would have to give pushback. I mean, all right, so what values are these protesters living up to? Obstructing law enforcement? That's a value that we hold as Americans. Like, well, we don't no longer have immigration law. That's a value we hold now, is open borders. Like, we just turned into a country of globalists. Yeah, I would have to push back on that a little bit. But hey, man, nobody pushed back on the patron saint of politics, Obama. Like, you don't do that, apparently.
I feel like we're going to get through this.
So I hear and appreciate what you're saying about the agency of individuals. As we look toward our elected officials, our democratic leaders, I think something that I've been having a lot of trouble reconciling is for so long, it's felt like Democrats are solely focused on protecting norms, institutions,
Right.
processes, and then you've got a Republican Party that sees what it wants and will find a way to get it. Laws be damned, Constitution be
Right.
damned, rules be damned. And we're seeing that play out right now. And so, given this massive asymmetry, where it often leaves us feeling like it's a Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown over and over and over again situation, what needs to be done? And do you think that our Democratic leadership and our Democratic elected officials understand that for the first time?
Well, look, I think we have to acknowledge that we've got the harder job, right? So we believe in government as a tool for good, as a potential force to create more jobs, and as a way to make sure that the planet doesn't roast, to make sure that as we move forward.
I see why I said that, because Trump did remove some Obama era EPA regulations. So Environmental Protection Agency, he removes some Obama era EPA regulations. So I get what he's saying by that. And then, of course, for the government to provide jobs, no, we would hope that the government would help the private sector, would help them provide jobs. Because, I mean, you see what Biden did with government jobs. The man created what? Look, man, there was one job and he put 4 people on the position. Apparently, that's creating jobs.
Well, the economy grows, that everybody and not just some are benefiting, and the kids are getting a good education. And what that means is that we have to think about the consequences of our actions. We have to try to figure out, how do we get working majorities to actually pass laws and to implement those laws and to make things happen. Tearing stuff down doesn't require all that. So when you talk about Republicans, for example, it seems like they see what they want and they just go after it. Well, they've passed one significant piece of legislation since they've been, for all the hoopla. They haven't actually codified and institutionalized much of anything.
Oh, guys, do me a big favor and double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support. If you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. Just $2 and up, or you can go ahead and send it in on the Venmo, which doubles your support towards the call-in. But all right, let's keep going.
They have poured a huge amount of money into ICE and their immigration agenda. And they've cut taxes for really wealthy people. And now they're trying to unravel a bunch of rules and norms and laws that are already in place. That's an easier job. So I say that because we should accept the responsibility and the challenge that our job's going to be a little bit harder. Because in order for us to get stuff done, like let's say the Affordable Care Act, well, we've got to cobble together a majority, and we've got to persuade, and we've got to convince. And so,
I mean, no, trust me, y'all did it. Y'all persuaded, y'all convinced, and it failed. I mean, yeah, the Affordable Health Care Act that you put out there, my man, got more expensive as well. For some reason, we was giving taxpayer dollars to insurance companies, and they would raise their premiums, even though we're pretty much funding these guys. So yeah, that kind of failed. And Obamacare was getting more expensive year over year. Like even with the ACA subsidies being passed, premiums are still going to go up by 18-30%, regardless of the ACA subsidies being passed or not.
I do think that
huge fail on affordability.
There's been some unwillingness on the part of Democrats in the past to break down some of the institutional barriers for us getting stuff done, just because, well, it's always been done that way. And I'll give you an example that frustrated the heck out of me when I was president, which was the filibuster in the Senate. The Senate is already structurally skewed and anti-majoritarian, right? It's hard for majorities to get stuff done, whether it's trying to pass civil rights legislation in the 60s or trying to get gun control legislation or what have you, because even though majority people support it, Delaware and Wyoming have the same number of senators as California.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So that would require a constitutional amendment. You then compound that with a filibuster. And the truth is that Democrats for some time have been traditionalists in wanting to preserve that, when it blocks us from making government effective, which in turn makes people feel like government is corrupt and not caring about them.
Which lends itself
to the kind of it gives folks like Trump an opening.
Yeah.
Right. So redistricting is another good example of where I strongly believe we should not be having politicians draw lines that determine who's voting for them. We should have voters decide who their politicians are.
I mean, yeah, I agree with him on that one. And here's the thing. I like what he said, because he's like, yo, it was a slippery slope. As soon as we started doing it, like when we start doing it, we can't sit there and try to hold a moral high ground when the Republicans start doing it. But that's exactly what the Dems are doing. It's like they'll start doing it, and if it works for them, it's all good. But as soon as it start working for the Republicans, oh, it's the worst thing on earth.
And I worked with Eric Holder to help set up the terrific work that the NDRC has been doing to try to make sure that we have fair maps. But the fact that Governor Newsom here in California and others said, well, if they're going to try to gerrymander their way out of losing this upcoming midterm, then we're going to respond. And we're going to respond in a lawful way where we put it up to a referendum and let people decide, and not just give away the store because of traditions. And that was the right response. So I do think that I don't want us to simply duplicate the behavior of the other side. I don't want us to have a slash and burn strategy where we don't care about rule of law. We don't care about some of the guardrails around our democracy.
And shout out to Trump Bunny 24. Appreciate the support. He says dragging out Trump shows desperation. I mean, look, man, when they dragged out Michelle Obama and Trump for Kamala Harris, yeah, I knew Kamala was cooked. I knew she was cooked. I was like, if y'all was doing well, man, you don't gotta break the glass for Obama. It's like, trust me, in every Democrat's political strategy, there's like this little box that says that has like this Obama figure in it. And there's a break glass in case you're losing. And then as soon as you break it, Obama just pops up on a rally for you, on an interview for you, whatever. But you're right. They might be popping out Obama for midterms, just in case.
Start lying and having no regard for the truth.
Or it could be an innocent interview.
The other side seems to be comfortable with right now. Because if that's how we fight, then we lose what we're fighting for. But that doesn't mean we have to get punked or be saps. And I do, or to cling to traditions just for the sake of tradition. I think what we have to continually evaluate is, in this moment in time, how do we make sure that we can advance our agenda in a way that reflects what's good for ordinary folks, not special interests, not simply the well-to-do. And how do we do that in a way that's consistent with integrity, honesty, democracy, the values that we claim to want to uphold? And I think it's possible to do that. But the reason I started with reminding ourselves, yes, we have a harder job, because sometimes I think we're tough on Democrats, saying, why aren't you being as mean and tough and nasty as they are? Well, it's when I was president of the United States,
I mean, I'm be real with you. He's honestly speaking to a good point, because I do feel bad for the Dems, because y'all base is relentless against Trump. It's like, bro, it's like y'all base care more about, well, you guys going after Trump than actually tackling affordability. And that's just the truth. That's the truth. I mean, and it kind of shows with Abigail Spanberger. It's like they care more about the F Trump agenda than actual affordability, or they'd have been able to see through her ploy. I mean, and he has a point, and I say it too all the time. It's like, Dems, you won't win just off the F Trump agenda. You actually got to bring some plans to us. Not just your base, to the conservatives as well. I mean, you got to shut us up somehow. You just can't sit there and complain about Trump's trade strategy without having none of your own Trump economic policy, while y'all had a failed one. Like, you guys actually got to come out with some solutions instead of coming out with criticism, because that's not going to win for you guys every trip. Now, and I'm be honest with you, Democrat base do need to honestly hold them more accountable for that. Like, yes, we get it. F Trump, he's a dictator. Whoop-de-doo. But you actually got to come up with a strategy here. Like, F Trump is not going to make things more affordable for us. It's not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but the F Trump agenda does not help you guys with affordability. I would hope you know this.
I suppose I could have simply unilaterally ordered the military to, go into some red state and harass and intimidate a governor there, or cut off funding for.
I mean, if that red state wasn't following federal law, Obama, there was a red state back in your day that was stopping ICE immigration, bro, you would have did the exact same thing and everybody would have cheered you on for it. I'm sorry. I'm not even trying to hear it. If there was literally a red state pretty much saying we're not going to follow federal law, you'd have came down on them, bro. If there was a red state saying that we're not going to uphold gay marriage, you would have came down on them for that. You'd have made sure, bro. I'm pretty sure. And if it got bad to where they were going in, stripping, like, I don't know, start harassing like gay couples, getting in their faces, going into churches and harassing them and dragging them out, you'd have made sure you'd have brought in the National Guard. So I'm not even trying to hear that. The problem is that, bro, when it's you guys, you have all the excuses in the world. But for some reason, when it's when it's the Republicans going against what? The federal system, you guys have all the excuses in the world to bring the hammer down on them, as you should, though, because if they're breaking federal law, then it is what it is. I'm being fair. When you got you guys out here obstructing, pretty much going against federal law, oh, you guys got all the excuses in the world to how you're not obstructionist, to how, oh, this is complete. This is all about protesting and you want to take away our freedom of speech. Nobody's doing that. You guys are just crossing a line. You're not willing to admit that. And it is kind of funny how he's literally sitting here in our faces like, well, if this was a red state and all this good stuff, if it was a red state, I'm going to be real with you. The same thing would have happened under you, Obama.
States that didn't vote for me, I could have exercised that prerogative, but that is contrary to how I think our democracy is supposed to work. And I think we shouldn't get discouraged by,
like I said, if there was a red state pretty much saying that we're not going to uphold gay marriage, you'd have brought the hammer down on
the fact that we have a tougher job.
I wouldn't have been mad at
what we should do is expect that our side is smart enough to figure it out.
So you had mentioned persuasion, and I think that that's a really good point here, because as we eventually head toward a next general election cycle, we're going to be contending with a lot of the same infighting that's plagued Democrats before. You'll often have leftists and progressives butting up against liberals and moderates. And look, you are the ultimate pragmatist. And so what advice do you have as we head toward this election cycle, this eventual 2028 election cycle, so that we don't devolve into the same, 2016 era Bernie Hillary redux that feels like it always consumes the left?
Well, look, first of all, I think it's important to remember that the divisions in the Democratic Party tend to get magnified in the media.
And I know
relative to the divides that exist in most other countries, where you have a parliamentary system, you have multiple parties, and you got Green Party, and you got the center left party, and you've got a socialist party, and sometimes you got a communist party. Yeah. Our differences get exaggerated. Listen, Bernie Sanders believes, just like Nancy Pelosi believes, just like Chuck Schumer believes,
I don't know about
just like
that.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Oh, hold on now. I don't know if they share same values, especially when it comes to Bernie. Bro, that's a democratic socialist. Nancy Pelosi, that's a straight up capitalist. I mean, crony capitalism, sure, but I mean, hey man, she does pretty well in trade. She plays in the stock market. She made millions of dollars. So I don't know if they share values like that, especially economic policies. I doubt it.
Bruce believes, just like AOC believes, in equality and non-discrimination against people because of race or gender or sexual orientation. Well, all Democrats believe in that. That's a core value. Democrats believe that government should provide a strong safety net for people when they're down on their luck. Everybody I just mentioned believes in that. Everybody believes that there should be some regulation of the market so that you don't have monopolies and oligopolies that are simply dictating the terms of the economy, and that we should have a tax system that levels out some of the inequalities that result. So I think it's important for us to remind ourselves as a starting point, what do we have in common? Most of the time, the differences are tactical. Right? It has to do with, well, how much of a tax hike can people put up with? How much regulation should we be thinking about when it comes to climate change? And if we recognize that typically,
so we really need to get into a real debate on climate change. Is it real? Is it just made up science to try to push this electric energy agenda? Because we're basing a lot of policies on this, a lot of regulations around climate change. And a lot of people are saying, yo, this thing is a one big scam. There's no climate change. We have cooling and warming periods throughout Earth's, time as a planet, as a stable planet. So, yeah, this might be being blown out of proportion. We might be creating all these regulations over something that we're never able to control in the first place, and for something that's may never even happen. Like, the ice caps are most likely won't melt and cause a massive flooding. There most likely will be a major cooling event at that time, just like we've had major cooling events throughout Earth's history and major warming events as well. But we need to figure this out because, like I said, we're shooting our foots with these regulations just because of this climate change belief. And yes, there are scientists on both sides of the argument that say, it's real, and to another side that says, it's bullshit. And yes, there are scientists that's being paid by, these green energy companies or these windmill and solar companies. And then there's the guys on the other side is being paid by the big oil companies. So both sides are being financed by special interests. So it's really hard to tell which side to really lean on. It's all, I'll let you read both sides and you can have your opinion on that. I'm personally on the side of just one big scam to just enforce regulations that make it harder for us to produce in our own country, which drives out these companies. Because I'm gonna be real with you, China don't got this shit. China don't give a damn to the extreme. And this is why they produce so much, because they don't give a damn about their environment. Not that we should pick up the same thing, but maybe we should water it down a little bit.
The arguments in the Democratic Party aren't about core values, but are really around tactics and how do you get stuff done. Now we can have a robust debate, and I want a robust debate.
Yeah.
And what we can also do is not try to nationalize every issue all the time.
God, do me a favor and double tap that screen, like the video. Let's get more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen. If you've got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be able to read it out loud and engage with it. I believe we're about $82 away from $81 away from opening up the call-in line. And if you want to double your support, just send in a Venmo.
This last off-year election, I think, was a great example. You've got a candidate like Spanberger in Virginia, who runs what would be considered a more centrist campaign and runs a terrific campaign. And then
I don't know about that. She ran a terrific campaign. I'll give her that one. She ran a really good campaign on affordability and all that good stuff. The problem is when she came into office, she's raising taxes, creating discriminatory laws against white contractors, creating these petty expenses on firearms. I mean, pretty much everything to just, raise cost on you. You know what's worse about the whole discriminating against white contractors? Even the white contractors charge them less. The government are still going to give the contracts to, more expensive contractors who just happen to be either you have to be a woman or a minority or both. I mean, you really got the pot of gold luck when, you're in Virginia and you're a minority woman. I mean, congratulations to you.
Got
if you're in Virginia.
In New York, who runs a explicitly socialist grassroots campaign.
Tough.
And excites and mobilize folks, and that can win.
And I feel bad for Zoran Mandani, because as soon as he got in trying to do some things, he's faced with a $12 billion deficit. And all this man could do was be like, well, my plans won't be done, but guess what, New Yorkers? I blame Eric Adams. That's all he had, really. He's like, look, man, well, we're going to try to fix it, but I just want to let you know, I blame Eric Adams for this $12 billion deficit. And there's some truth to that, to be real with you. There is. Actually, there's a lot of truth to it. But, I mean, you made all these campaign promises, bro, and now you're sitting at a $12 billion deficit when you need at least $10 billion to get what? These buses to be free, or childcare to be free? So you got a lot to get in. You got a lot to make up for. And you might have to raise taxes if you really want to get that $12 billion deficit, or, reallocate money better and all that good stuff. But you may have to raise taxes.
In New York City, it probably could not win in Virginia. And that's okay. That's healthy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we get into arguments. A recent one, this idea that the quote unquote abundance agenda is somehow a sellout, and folks on the left getting exercised because, this is part of this sort of corporate Democrats trying to take over the party. Well, no, not really. What I think it is entirely legitimate to say, for example, we need to build more affordable housing, which is going to require higher taxes on people like me and people who are well off in order to subsidize the construction of affordable housing, let's say in a place like California, and also be able to say, you know what, there are a bunch of well-intentioned rules and zoning laws and so forth that baby boomers like me and existing homeowners have used to block the construction of affordable housing, even in democratic cities. And
yeah, I know, because the baby boomers are just happen to be a very selfish generation that basically is blocking the economic opportunity of owning a house from the younger generation, because, well, they want to keep their appreciation on their house up. They don't want to bring around these low income houses because it's going to drive down their house price. Is this based on complete selfishness, and they don't really care about what they're doing to the younger generation? And there's a lot of boomers who don't give a shit. A good amount of them do. But the ones that we need to give a shit don't. They're the ones making all the money.
And so if we want to actually deliver housing rather than have some abstract argument, then we got to figure out not an either or of do we spend more money or do we reform some of these things that are preventing the construction of affordable housing. We have to do both. And I want us to have those arguments. And one last thing I think that's I've noticed in a lot of our internal arguments, a lot of which, by the way, are taking place online, and ordinary voters, this is all completely off their radar screen. Yeah. One of the things I think it's important for Democrats, for us also to recognize, progressives to recognize, folks on the left to recognize, it's possible for us to have a moral sense of what is right and true.
It kills me. Like, Obama does talk about some pretty important problems, but he never really gives a solution. Like, bro, you could have talked about, we need to drop the pricing for cement. We need to drop the pricing for lumber so we can go ahead and build these houses. How Biden had this increase in inflation, basically made it harder for houses to be built affordably. Like, I mean, that's true as well. So that's why he's kind of like, I think that's what the reason he's dancing around the topic, because it's really hard to make the argument for affordable housing when under Biden, I mean, the materials to build a house skyrocketed. It's really hard to make that argument as a Democrat.
True, and what needs to be done.
Unless he's about to sit there and make solutions, or not make solutions, but give solutions on, hey, this is how we need to bring down cement. This is how we need to bring down lumber so we can bring down the cost of building single family housing. This is what we need to do with it. Put it here, there, and the third. Is like, if he's saying that, I mean, honestly, then shoot, I'd vote for him again if he actually has some real goddamn plans. But or any Democrat who would actually speak to that. Like, if you're actually speaking about some real plans, you're actually pointing out what the Democrats are effing up and then being like, yeah, well, here's the better plan. I would vote for a Democrat like that. But the problem is y'all just poke fun at Trump's plan, and then y'all sit there and try to stall his plans while having no real plans of your own. And that's just pathetic. I'll be honest with you. Like, people don't respect that unless they hate Trump that much.
And also recognize that we are